Okay, guys, so I'm here today. This is my friend Lacy. She is a 10K affiliate with Hempworx. And I guess we're just going to jump right in. So, Lacy, do you want to go ahead? You could probably introduce yourself.
Okay, so let's get started. So my name is Lacy Garza. I am a 25K Hempworx affiliate.
Oh, 25K. That's right. Congrats.
Yes,
Oh my
hopefully
gosh, I'm so
50
sorry.
this month. So a little bit about me. My husband and I owned a strategic branding agency. So we were previous business owners. I have a 2-year-old. His name is Vega. And I have Hyperemesis gravidarum during my pregnancies. So for my first pregnancy, I really went through it. I did not go through it with CBD oil. I made it through, but it was absolutely debilitating. We kind of decided that we wanted to have a second child. We wanted Vega to have a sibling. My husband and I are both from families with 2 children. So we were just like, okay, we're going to make the sacrifice and we're going to try again. A little bit about hyperemesis. It's basically like 9 months of food poisoning. You cannot drink, you cannot eat. I could not take care of myself. I could not take care of Vega. And we knew what we were getting into, so we kind of shut down our business and we hired full-time help and we prepared to have a baby. Well, long story short, the second time around, things were really, really bad. And we were talking termination around week 11. I mean, it was like the darkest time of my life. Vega, sit down.
Sit down, baby.
Hi, Sarah.
And so we were completely lost at this point. We didn't know what to do, and that is when I found CBD oil.
Yeah, so like how did you find it? Like what, made you start looking, and like what sort of things did you look for? I mean, did you try other brands or did you go straight to Hempworx, or kind of tell us about that?
So I started, first of all, my mom came to me and she was like, you have to try the CBD oil. Well, I mean, we were probably spending $800, $1,000 a month on this, that, and the other for different cures. Medication didn't work for me. And when she came to me about CBD oil, that was around week 11, and I was basically just like, screw off. Like, when you've tried so many things and you are completely hopeless, I just cannot explain where I was mentally at that point. So my mom is luckily a very persistent person, and she sent me some CBD oil and she made me try it.
Oh.
And lo and behold, 12 hours later, I took it in the afternoon. I didn't expect it to work. I was a complete skeptic. I was up sick all night and I fell asleep around 4:30 in the morning. And I woke up around 9, ready to run to the bathroom, and I just didn't even have to.
Oh, wow.
And it was just crazy. Like, I started crying. I called my husband into the room. I was like, what is going on? I didn't expect it to keep working. It was another brand, but it worked well enough for me to drink water. And it was the first time I drank water in 9 weeks. So
wow.
It was nuts. So that's how I kind of found it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to realizing that this is going to work, it's going to keep working, it's going to be a complete solution, I started looking for a good brand. I noticed that a lot of brands had disclaimers on the bottles or disclaimers in the footer of their website that said do not use while pregnant and breastfeeding. I was very involved in the HG community, so at this point I'm researching, I'm looking things up. Through my HG groups, I gained contact to some midwives, a couple of chemists, and then some HG experts. And we kind of talked about CBD, how it's been used to treat HG, what to look for, and we formed a list.
Mm-hmm.
And with this list, I found Hempworx because Hempworx was the only company that completely matched my list And not only that, it went above and beyond. So there was extras on the list that I didn't even expect to find, and it was just the perfect oil for me. Some of the things on the list,
Yeah,
if
I
you
was
want
gonna
me
say,
to go into that,
hang on 1 second.
we have a 30-day guarantee. That was not expected. I didn't think I would find a company that was going to let me use the whole bottle and then send it back if it didn't work. So that was just a bonus. We are full spectrum, and I'll just keep going. Which means we have all of the cannabinoids. Isolates do not work for me. So if the CBD oil only has CBD in it, it doesn't really work for me. So I need a full spectrum. I need something that has trace amounts of THC. I need the CBG, the CBN. I need all the cannabinoids. We also had no extra artificial ingredients, which is huge. I just kept going while you were gone.
Okay, good. My dog was going crazy, so.
No, you're fine. That was a huge one for me. So many bottles. You're seeing glycerin, you're seeing
I know.
water.
Water?
So that wasn't going to work. And when I'm talking to the midwives, they're pointing out things like magnesium stearate and all of these strange things that they're seeing in other companies, and they're guiding me to stay away from these things. So I did. Another bonus that I didn't expect was that our supplier, Gin Canada, would be FDA approved. So that was just like a very pleasant surprise along with the guarantee. And another pleasant surprise was that Hempworx is an American company from seed to sale. That's not necessarily something that we started off looking for, but as we went, we realized how important it was because, the soil needs tested for these heavy metals. You want to know where your hemp's being grown. You want that to be regulated. So that ended up being a big deal to me too. And so from finding Hempworx and creating this list, I truly believe that we have one of the best quality oils. I'm reassured by my customers every day. I think I've tried 5 brands, and I haven't found anything that stands up to Hempworx. So I'm completely happy with it. It is my complete solution. All of my symptoms are gone, and I haven't looked back since I started taking Hempworx. So it's been a miracle for me and my family. It really has.
So past like the first 12 hours, can you elaborate like what your symptoms were, how they improved, like with maybe the first oil versus, the Hempworx?
So with the first oil, I could drink water. And when I drank water, it was probably about 18 hours after taking it. So there was a bit of a lag. As soon as I took the other oil, it took that 12 hours and I wasn't sick. Like I wasn't physically sick, throwing up in the toilet. About 6 hours after that, I could drink. I was eating small amounts of things like crackers, toast. I went to a wedding that night and I danced, so that felt great. But I wasn't taking in full meals. I didn't have the energy that I had before pregnancy. So I guess you could say I still felt pregnant. And I still felt nausea, but I wasn't debilitated. By the time that I was doing Hempworx, it just seemed like I felt better than I did before pregnancy. Like I'm that person that would get up in the morning and go get an energy drink before I got pregnant, go to the gas station and get some caffeine pills. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I didn't want to do that. So, and I wasn't doing that during pregnancy anyways, but I just love the caffeine. I love the energy drinks. And with Hempworx, it was like I had the energy, I was eating, I was drinking normally. And I felt better than I did before I was pregnant. So it was really just differences in the way I felt and how much I could eat, how much I could drink at a time, my energy levels type things.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I always forget, but one of the things that I don't do anymore, and I forget it because it's not like it was bad, but one of the things I don't do anymore is I don't drink caffeine. So seriously, like anyone that knows me, especially from Periscope, I always went live in the morning with a white Monster, and I did it AM. It was called AM Caffeine and Chat, and I literally like every single day drank an energy drink on Periscope and just hung out with people. And honestly, I don't even remember last time I bought a Monster, and I think whenever I did, it just didn't taste all that good. And yeah, but that's just one of those things that just kind of, you know what I mean? I wasn't like writing it down as something that happened, but you know, it happened. So
It's so weird.
yeah, it is. So can you elaborate on how, or just tell us why the CBD oil works so well for women who are pregnant? And then after we kind of talk about the pregnancy, I do want to talk about the breastfeeding, which I know you haven't done that yet, but Maddox still nurses. So I've nursed Maddox for, he'll be 3 the end of May. So I kind of want to just talk about that, and I'm sure you've studied it too. So yeah, if you go ahead and tell us why it works so good, CBD oil works so good for the pregnancy.
So as far as using CBD oil in pregnancy and breastfeeding, there's not a ton of studies out. You know, we're going through legalization in multiple states. We're really still figuring out CBD as a whole society. So when looking at why it helps pregnant and breastfeeding women, I like to take a more of a common sense approach towards all of this because, you know, we cannot look at scientific evidence for this stuff.
Yes.
So going down to the bare basics, we have an endocannabinoid system in our body. Our endocannabinoid system produces endocannabinoids, and those fit into the system. And what this system does is it provides, you know, homeostasis for your body, general well-being and health. And really, your endocannabinoid system is so amazing. It's responsible for optimal functioning of all other systems, and there's 17. So you're talking respiratory, cardiovascular, you know, every system in your body is in part controlled by the ECS, your endocannabinoid system. Your ECS is very involved in pregnancy and breastfeeding. Like I said, we're producing these cannabinoids, and our breast milk is full of these cannabinoids, and they go straight to your baby for nourishment. Your baby also has an endocannabinoid system that you are providing for in these first months of life. And what we're basically doing by taking CBD is we are supplementing our endocannabinoid system with phytocannabinoids. And phytocannabinoids are made from a plant, and in our case, it's industrial hemp. So we're basically taking cannabinoids from the plant, and we're using them to supplement the endocannabinoid system inside of our body. And they fit into that system just like our own naturally produced cannabinoids. So really, it just gives us what we need. It helps to provide an optimal environment for pregnancy and breastfeeding. And it can help with a variety of pregnancy-related issues. I mean, we're talking anxiety. I haven't had any swelling, PTSD, nausea, production in breast milk, sciatica, back and hip pain. It's insane what I've seen this do for me compared to my other pregnancy, just where I'm at. And it's amazing. So it's really just that common sense approach and looking what your ECS is, what is a cannabinoid, what is a phytocannabinoid, why is this helping? And when you look at it that way, I think it's so obvious that CBD is amazing for pregnancy and breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people get hung up on the they don't know the difference. I would say like the biggest thing being hung up on is, you know, the marijuana hemp plant. So, and you know, like the THC. So basically, just a little rundown on that real quick. Or Lacy, do you want to tell them like a little rundown on, you know, that? Because I'm sure you get asked that a lot, you know, well, does it have THC in it? Like, you know, is this going to go into my baby? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So for me, you know, any pregnant woman who, if you are drug tested at birth, you can still use a full spectrum CBD oil. I would advise you to stop taking it around maybe 38, 36 weeks just to be safe, because there is trace amounts of THC in the CBD. If you can use an isolate is a CBD oil with only CBD. There's no THC at all. You will run no risk of having THC in your body. And Hempworx is actually coming out with an all-natural isolate, so that's something to look for. But for me, I need that trace amount of THC. I need those other cannabinoids. So a full spectrum works best for me. Every state has different laws about THC being present in your urine at birth. Unfortunately, with Indiana, we are going with a midwife because I cannot stop taking this product. If I do, I'm right back to square one. And so we've decided that we are just going straight through. We're doing the midwife thing. We're doing it at home.
That's awesome.
And that is because I need that THC. So there's options. You know, you can take the THC, the full spectrum CBD, and you can stop at the end, or you can take an isolate and go all the way through. I know that my OB was completely fine with me taking this. She just gave me the warning that I will be drug tested in the hospital, so I should be very careful. So it's really just about talking to your OB, being open with them, taking their advice and their suggestions. But as far as I'm concerned, either way is a great route, whether you have the trace amounts of THC or not.
Yeah, for sure. And when we talk about trace amounts of THC, we are literally talking about less than what the FDA approves. So the FDA has an approval limit of 0.3.
Yes.
And that is for anyone, you know, manufacturing CBD oil. So 0.3% has to be less than 0.3%. And Hempworx, I believe it's 0.03, and I've seen up to 0.08. So that is literally like super trace, but you guys have to also understand, and that's a whole nother video, the way THC works. So like a boil down of THC is it processes as fast as your metabolism, and it kind of clings onto fat cells. So over time, it could potentially build up, and no supplement can tell you you will pass a drug test, and we're not allowed to say that. So when we say, you know, it could show up in drug test, like it could, but like she's saying, if you need an isolate, there's an isolate too, and that's going to be THC free. So that means there's none in it whatsoever. And I believe they said a couple weeks on that. So
yes,
that's awesome. Okay, so Sarah was asking, how far along are you? And I believe you have what, just a couple weeks left, don't you?
Yes, I am 36 weeks as of yesterday, and I'll show you guys my belly because
yeah, stand up, show
big.
Oh my gosh, you're so cute.
Yeah, so I'm huge. I'm like, how am I gonna last the rest of this pregnancy?
So cute. You know, my last question I had on here was, is it safe? I know you tapped a little bit on that, but just to clarify, I mean, it's totally safe for you, for the baby. We should just maybe watch like low blood pressure and talk to your doctor if you're on, you know, medication. Talk to your doctor anyway, obviously. But it is like, you know, safe, right?
Well, and you know, for me, I have big comparisons to make in this realm, and it's still common sense approach. But my prescriptions, I would be on a Zofran pump. I would be taking Reglan and Phenergan and Diclegis. And so that's 4 medications. One is a 24-hour pump in your arm. I would probably have an at-home IV as well if I wasn't bouncing back and forth between here and the ER, which is what I did last time. When I look at Zofran and these prescription medications that they advise pregnant women to take, you know, these are a lifesaver for many women with HG. But Zofran has been proven to cause birth defects. There are lawyers
that commercial.
Yes. I mean, there's lawyers dedicated to this medication. You know, it's not something that I want to be pumped into my body 24 hours a day during my entire pregnancy. So I look at Zofran, and I know that when my baby is born, I cannot give any of these medications to my infant. I wouldn't take them myself during this pregnancy. So I look at that, and then I look at CBD oil. I know that CBD oil is safe for all mammals of all ages. I can take the CBD oil and give it to my infant. I can put it in his ears, nose, mouth. You know, I can rub it on his skin. looking at it that way, it makes so much more sense to treat your pregnancy conditions, your pregnancy woes, your ailments. Treat it with CBD oil. You know, I know the FDA has approved these medications, but that doesn't stop the fact that they have caused birth defects in the past. It's really just making your own personal decision and talking to your OB. But in my eyes, there's nothing safer, there's nothing better for pregnancy than CBD oil.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And not to be that person, but you can Google, you know, things FDA has approved that they later unapproved or banned. Like, seriously, guys. And hemp and cannabis have been around since every other plant, like been used for centuries. So, you know, but obviously make your own deduction. We can't give you medical advice. That's just a little tidbit for that, though.
Right.
So I think I went through all my notes here. So do you have anything extra? Maybe I didn't ask you. I haven't actually done a lot of interviews, but anything else like that we should know or that you would want to tell somebody? And then, or you think about that. I just want to talk a little bit about my experience with Maddox. A lot of you guys know that I give Jack the oil for his ADHD. I take it. I took it a long time first and had all kinds of crazy life-changing things. But you can watch all that somewhere else. But I have a lot of people ask me, oh, well, why do you give it to Maddox? Okay, here's the deal. I give Maddox 1 drop 2 times a day, and I still nurse him at night to put him to sleep. So, you know, yeah, he gets some of the CBD oil. Now, whenever I say I give him 1 drop, this isn't going under his tongue. He's not holding it for a minute to 5 minutes. He is literally getting it when his brother and sister get theirs. And you know how toddlers are, right? And then he's like, where's mine? Where's mine? Where's my oil? Where's my oil? So I literally just take the 1 little drop. And I'll tell you what, though, since I started doing that, it's crazy. I have a testimony for this. I'm like, I do. He will be 3, and he always woke up in the middle of the night and wanted to nurse. And it was like a habit. It was like a comfort, and it just kind of filled up his stomach a little bit to get him over to breakfast. Or he'd wake up having dreams, whatever. Anyways, since he started, you know, and he gets his 1 drop 2 times a day, he sleeps through the whole night. That kid sleeps. He can do 8 to 8 now, which is I literally get up before him because I have so much more energy. I get up, I do my yoga and everything, and then he comes out, which is awesome. Okay. But yeah, I know lots of people that nurse and that breastfeed and use this. And if you do want to study it more, as in you know, medical study, whatever, in the breastfeeding community, Dr. Jack Newman is the go-to for medical and breastfeeding and things like that. So go see what he has to say about CBD. So he supports it, and he's really current on everything breastfeeding. So Dr. Jack Newman. And yeah, so Lacy, do you have anything that you know you want to add or to think about that we should add here?
You know, speaking on that, Vega, he loves the CBD oil, and let me see. He'll come up to me and ask for it. It's the craziest thing. And I started giving it to him for his eczema, and I mean, he doesn't take it consistent, and I don't give it to him consistently, but when he asks, I give it to him. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I like the most about it, is that he comes and he asks. Yeah. You know, he just turned 2 in November, and the fact that he thinks to ask for this oil, it makes you, you know, it's doing something for them, you know? Yeah. But talking about breastfeeding, we had no luck breastfeeding, Vega and I. So I am so hoping that CBD completely changes that for me this time around. I hope that my production's better. My breast milk caused a lot of reflux for him, so we had to pretty much go to formula immediately. I think we were at 3 weeks, and the doctor told us we had to go to formula. So hoping that things completely change for me this time around. And then I also wanted to talk about PTSD and nausea during pregnancy and anxiety, because with Vega, HG left me with PTSD, and
Hmm.
it was insane. Like, I would have these panic attacks where I lose my vision, and then I would lose mobility in my arms and my legs, and they would last around 45 minutes to an hour. So if I was taking care of him and I was at home alone, there would be periods of time where I just could not make a phone call, I could not ask for help, and it was like the scariest thing. So when I would feel them coming on, I would call my grandma. Somebody would come get me. Sometimes I ended up in the hospital, and it was nuts. Since I started the CBD, I haven't had a single panic attack. I haven't had that anxiety. I haven't had that nausea, obviously. So I think that for these moms who are on some type of anxiety medicine, if you do have PTSD and you're entering your pregnancy, you may be able to see what CBD does for you, and that might be your option during your pregnancy, because I know a lot of women have to stop taking their Xanax and their anxiety prescriptions. So this is an amazing option for you guys. I would say most of the pregnant women that come to me do come to me for some form of anxiety, and I am putting PTSD in there with that. So for anxiety, I totally recommend it. As a pregnant woman, talk to your OB. I almost guarantee that they will be happy with this solution for you. Eliminating that stress in pregnancy is so important, and I truly feel that CBD can completely do that for a lot of women.
Yeah, I like that. So I don't talk a whole lot about it, but that's one of the things it did for me. I have PTSD, and I was on Depakote, which it's like lithium. I didn't have the CBD option whenever I was pregnant because I didn't know about it. I literally did not know about it. So the doctor made the decision, and I made the decision to stay on the Depakote, because if I didn't, you know, if you guys aren't familiar with post-traumatic stress, like flashbacks and night terrors are like the worst thing ever. Like, it's literally like debilitating. So, I took that medicine. Now, thankfully, nothing happened with Maddox, but there was always that risk. And we said the risk outweighed, the benefits outweighed the risk in this instance, right? And then I found the CBD, and that's one of the things I worked with my doctor, and I haven't taken my Depakote for, I want to say it's been like 4 months and 5 months maybe. I was scared of, not taking it, because I was like, you can't plan these things. You never know whenever they're going to happen. But it's been totally fine. And still, like, with the Xanax, I had Xanax. And, I don't need any of that anymore, which I just talked yesterday about the Xanax. So it is awesome. It's one of those things where you really need to weigh the benefits. I mean, and risk, like, what risks are there? Like, seriously, like, can you tell us, like, what risk, there would be for you being pregnant?
None.
Like, it can lower your blood pressure, right?
Yeah. And, my blood pressure has been amazing this entire pregnancy. Like, my OB takes my blood pressure. Well, now it's my midwife. And they just look at me and they're like, your blood pressure is so perfect. I'm like,
yeah. And that's actually one of the things that pregnant women struggle with, because I remember my blood pressure went up whenever I was pregnant. And that was one of the reasons why I got induced, right? So yeah, that it actually helps. But if you have low blood pressure, that would be a risk. Or if you have a low sugar, because this actually works really good. It's another thing it did for me. It got me off my metformin. Like, I had high blood sugars. And then, 2 months in a row, I didn't. And the doctor's like, okay, you can stop taking this. So if you have low blood sugar and low blood pressure, that's something you just want to be careful with and, more aware of. But other than, I honestly don't know. If you look up side effects of CBD oil, it will say, none. You can't overdose. If you take a large amount, you're going to get a killer migraine, like bad. Anything else you've heard, Lacy? Maybe a little stomach ache from the peppermint?
Yeah, I've heard, of detoxing. Maybe when you take too much, you get that naggy headache. You might get a stomach ache. Anytime that this happens, I just tell people, go down to 2 to 3 drops a day and work through that. And after that's gone, nothing. I mean,
yeah,
no overdose, no negative side effects.
That's
There's
actually
really not many. There's not any risks really.
Yeah, whenever I started taking it, I was doing 5 drops 2 times a day, and it would hurt my stomach. And a lot of times I just get so busy that I don't eat during the day, and so I really think that's what it was. But I just went down to the 3, and I just did that for like a week, and then I was up to 5, and I've never had to take more. So I literally take, like the 1/4 of a drop. I went up to a half, and my pain started coming back, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back down, and then it was gone again. How much do you take, Lacy?
Yeah, and that's the funny thing about CBD, and I'm always telling people, if you take too much, it can be as ineffective as taking too little.
Mm-hmm.
It really is all about your body. The amount of time that it takes to kick in for people is totally different. For me, it takes 12 hours to kick in no matter what. So if I miss a dose, I'm sick for 12 hours. There's no way around it. My dose is huge. And the 500 works best for me, taking a large dose of the 500. I take between 1/4 of a dropper and 1/2 of a dropper 3 times a day.
Okay.
And I think that probably puts me around 45 drops, 45 drops total in a 24-hour span. And my body's very finicky. I know when I have too little because I'm sick. I know when I have too much because I'll get like an itching headache. It's not too bad for me, but I can tell it's there. It's in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I take a ton. I've never met anybody else that takes that much of the 500, but I know that that's what works for my body, and I have not changed my dose the whole time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's weird how, just a little bit more can give you that headache, but then if you drop like even 1 drop off of it, it could be like perfect. Like 5 is too much for my son. 4 is perfect. 3 is too little. So it's really like super powerful, like crazy. Okay, so I think we talked about everything. And did you have anything else? Was there anything else?
Nope, I think we covered everything. I think everything's went really well.
Well, if you guys have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. And if it's something I can't answer, I will tag Lacy to help you out. Thank you so much for being here, Lacy, and taking your time to be here and just being awesome.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was so much fun. I'm glad we finally got to talk in real life.
Sure. Well, good luck with your labor and delivery if we don't talk again on cam, but we message all the time, so we'll chat. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Bye, Tara. Bye, guys.